Well, recruiting fans, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad Huseby, and today I'll be giving you guys a preview of the 2023 Defensive Target Board. I'm filming this March the 28th, 2022, so it's the spring of these guys' junior school years. And we'll start with the defensive line. If you missed my last video, I went over the offensive line, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks, the offensive board. That was a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out. That was pretty good. Talked about guys like Dante Moore, Braylon James, Cardinal Tate, all the notable names. But today we'll start off with the two defensive line commits, Brennan Vernon and Keon Keeley. Both these guys I feel good about ending up in the class. Vernon was thought to be an Ohio State lean for a very long time, and Notre Dame kind of flipped the switch recently. He actually committed to ND back in June or July. I want to say July. And that was just a major upset. Sent shockwaves throughout the recruiting world. Nobody really expected it, but Notre Dame came through and landed his services over the Buckeyes. And then Keon Keeley was not a five-star player by any means when he committed to the Irish, and Juni was their first commit. Him and Vernon were the first two, and he is from Tampa, Florida. Florida, Alabama, and Ohio State are still pressing him quite hard. Ohio State's probably the only school I really see as a competitor, though. I think Bama and Florida have kind of eased away in his recruitment, but the Buckeyes will probably still get another visit or two. But I do like Notre Dame to land him. Sam Mpemba is next up. I mean, super, super talented. Florida, Bama, Michigan, Mizzou are a few of his top schools. I think ND leads, but he wants to take his officials. This recruitment is not done, so we'll see what happens there. Jason Moore, very talented kid from DeMatha Prep in Maryland, brothers with Justin Moore, Villanova shooting guard, who actually just tore his Achilles over the weekend in Villanova's Elite Eight game against Houston. Devin Houston is next, brothers with Caleb Houston, who played for Michigan. Michigan, Penn State, ND are probably the top few schools there, with Michigan and ND ahead. I think it's 50-50 there. Not sure if ND will have a spot, though. Boba Cortraro, I expect him to end up in this class. I think he'll commit in the next few weeks. He wants to get to campus as soon as possible. Just decommitted from Boston College earlier in March. Linebackers, very small list. Phil Piccolotti, I want to just get this out of the way. I do not think he ends up in this class. I think ND's pretty much going all in for Jaden Osbury as their third linebacker. Sam Mpemba can probably play linebacker, one of those Viper spots, edge spots. But pretty much the last uncommitted name to know is Osbury, as Bowen and Zinter are locked in as they could be. But Osbury, top 40 player according to Rivals. Ohio State, LSU, Bama, ND are probably his top few schools. ND's in the lead, in my opinion. They made a big move when he got on campus in March, and I think he'll end up donning the blue and gold and ending up in South Bend. We'll see what happens, but ND is absolutely a real player there. Now to corners. This is an interesting list because I think ND will only take one more cornerback. They're hoping Christian Gray commits in short order, and they're hoping to keep Justin Rhett locked in. Rhett will take a visit to Georgia just in about a week, but I don't think that's anything crazy. I still think he ends up in South Bend. But Christian Gray, super talented kid. Ohio State, LSU, Alabama are a few of his top schools. Wants to take an official to ND. I think that will wrap it up. That'll probably be that first weekend of June, but I thought he'd be committed by now. He's not. It is what it is, but if you're ND, you can't be upset. You're still in the lead. Michael Bell, recently offered kid from Texas, a little smaller, but still very, very talented. His 3-star rating on Rivals is far below his on the other recruiting services. Bunch of offers. Michigan's one of the big ones. LSU is one of the big ones. ND is one of the big ones. We'll see if he gets on campus. Amari Snowden is next. Penn State hosted him for a visit this past weekend. I think that made a big move for them. Michigan State is up there. Michigan has yet to offer, but if they do, I think they're in that top 2 or 3. ND offered. I think they've kind of taken it slow, but if a guy like Christian Gray doesn't commit to the Irish, or if Justin Rhett decommits, contact with him could absolutely pick up. He's had a good 7-on-7 campaign. Javian Toviano from Texas. I mean, he's a stud, top 25 or 30 guy in the country, in my opinion. Texas and Texas A&M, Oklahoma are probably in better spots than the Irish are. LSU's involved, Bama's involved. But if Indy can get him on campus for an official visit, that would be major. And then Malik Muhammad, this one's pretty much over. I think he ends up at Texas or Bama. A few months ago, if you would have asked me, I probably would have said ND leads. But some things have fallen out there, and I don't think he ends up at Notre Dame. Finally, the safeties. This is the last little group. I have Caleb Downs on the top left as he is the number one target left on the board. I mean, 5-star player all across the board, has offers from everybody. Clemson, Bama, and Georgia are probably in just a little bit better spots than ND, maybe Ohio State too, but ND is definitely in that top 5. His brother plays in North Carolina. I don't think they're much of a threat anymore. I think he'll end up taking his 5 officials to Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, and ND. And then we'll see what happens there. But Chris O'Leary has done a great job. Super close with him. Chad Bonin is doing well here too. And he's going to lay out the red carpet and shoot for the fences here. Adon Schuler, completely locked in, just picked up a Bama offer. Some people were worried. Don't be. He's locked in with the Irish. Peyton Bowen is taking a visit to Texas A&M in a few days. Has taken some secret visits to Oklahoma. But with his little brother picking up an ND offer, I think if Bowen ends up signing with ND, Eli would probably have to commit or sign as well. Now, that's just me. I have no sources or anything to prove that. But Bowen, I'm not so sure he ends up in this class. I'm definitely a lot more confident with Rhett and Keeley. Bowen is probably the softest commit across the board. Just on the fact, I think he kind of wants to play a little closer to home. Academics are definitely a big thing, though. His mom loves the Irish, but if I had to guess, I'd probably say he ends up elsewhere just as of right now. That could very well change, but we saw what happened with Devin Moore and CJ Williams. Notre Dame really hopes they can close on Bowen, but landing his little brother Eli would be, huge. And I think Eli Bowen's a good enough player to play at Notre Dame. Had 10 picks in his sophomore season. A little undersized. They're just at about 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". So we'll see. But Peyton Bowen, definitely the softest commit, in my opinion. Still committed, though, and I think ND could very well sign him. Malik Hartford is next, the Ohio kid. ND's definitely in his top 2 or 3 with Michigan and Ohio State. Cincinnati's maybe in there as well. I think he needs to take another visit to South Bend before he commits. I expect that to be an official, probably sometime in the summer. We'll see what happens. I think Ohio State leads, and if I had to guess today, I think he would end up at Ohio State. But Notre Dame absolutely has a shot in that recruitment. And then the last 2 are kind of fading away. Jair Hill, there was a little bit of buzz after he landed his offer, but Michigan offered a few months before the Irish. He's built some pretty good connections up in Ann Arbor, has spent a lot of time up there. I think he ends up in Ann Arbor. Micah Tease, there was a time where I thought ND would land him. Don't worry about my fan future cast. That would absolutely be put on Oklahoma or USC because those two schools are definitely in the lead here right now. Lincoln Riley, he has a lot of love for. Maybe Brent Venables will offer him again at Oklahoma. Or excuse me, sorry. Brent Venables has offered him again at Oklahoma, and they've been doing a really good job in recruiting him. But we'll see what happens. Tease can also play wide receiver, and he can also play a little bit of corner. So, yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Comment if you have any Notre Dame football recruiting, Notre Dame football questions. Spring ball just started, so I'd be happy to answer those. But that's it for me. I'll see you guys next time.